welcome everyone to week 17 of the GTHub podcast. Today I'm joined with Forza R18.
Hello everyone.
And as always, Rob Lamarr.
Hello, wie geht's?
We're gonna talk about Indy 500 and some other stuff. I'm just here for the stupid comments. I'm not gonna add anything useful. So take it away, Forza or whoever.
All right then, I shall go. I think you need to fix the description because it's wrong.
Yeah, no.
Just saying.
The description is slightly wrong. Still says we're talking about the Nürburgring 24.
I'm on it.
Yes, I know. I just pointed it out, Rob. Thank you for talking over me again.
I'm sorry.
This has gone smoothly already. Anyway. Actually, you know what? Let's start with the Formula E since you're on point already.
It's about the only thing I can actually really talk about.
Yes, and
Yes.
then we'll move from there. Since you are our official Formula E correspondent. Yes.
Yes, and have spent the last few days in wonderful sunny Berlin.
Yes.
The weather was actually really rather pleasant indeed. It was actually nicer outside than it was in the media centre. The media centre, it was a bit cold coming in the race, but never mind. It was actually it was an interesting race actually. I don't think
Yeah, you say interesting. I thought it was rather dull, which is amazing considering that track's actually quite nice for Formula E.
Yeah, I say interesting because I don't think anyone was actually predicting
An Audi 1-2?
or even the level of domination which Daniel Abt showed all weekend. Now, he qualified on pole. He was fastest in his qualifying group as well, from memory. And there was a little bit of umming and ahhing at the time as to actually whether or not he'd keep a pole position because what happened, it was alleged that he'd actually changed up to 200 kilowatt mode just before the timing line for the third sector to start, which you're not allowed to do. But he kept his pole position and from there recorded the first Grand Slam in Formula E history.
They're using the Grand Slam thing. Okay.
Yeah, it was the...
I thought they would have called like a full charge or something. Some electrical pun, something like that.
Grand Slam. It was pole position, fastest lap, leading every lap, and going on to win the race. So,
Audi 1-2 for Daniel Abt and
Lucas Di Grassi, yeah.
Lucas Di Grassi, yes. Which is an amazing recovery, seeing as the start of their season was awful, and they didn't get points till what, the fourth race?
They did have points. It was just 12 points scored solely by Abt because Di Grassi had actually retired from every other round with
that's what I was thinking.
car issues. They would have had more had Abt not actually been disqualified in Hong Kong.
Well, he would have had his first win as an Audi Sport driver as well if he wasn't disqualified from Hong Kong. But actually, his first win non-stop, really.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah, correct. It would have been Abt's first win in Formula E. But yeah, it was a good result for those guys. Jean-Eric Vergne was in third for Techeetah, which means that he can actually win the title in a few weeks' time in Zurich.
Who is actually still mathematically in the hunt? Because Felix Rosenqvist is out now.
Felix Rosenqvist,
and that's who I had pinned for the title. But
Felix Rosenqvist is still.
Is he though?
Vaguely. I mean, it would require.
He would have to win like all the races, wouldn't he?
He would have to basically Grand Slam every weekend, and for Vergne to not actually turn up.
Yeah, he's got a 40-point lead. That's kind of insurmountable at this point.
Over Sam Bird. Sam Bird needs basically Vergne wins in Zurich, and Bird scores like a point or two. Then Vergne is champion. I believe.
Well, yeah. Because how many points are on offer? There's 20.
I think they use the same
25 for the win. You get 3 for pole.
3 for the Julius Baer pole awards. I think you get 1 or 2 for the Visa fastest lap.
Yeah, one or two for the fastest lap. So there's how many rounds left? There's 4.
There's Zurich in the doubleheader in Brooklyn.
Oh, so there's only 3 left. 3 races left then. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's not many points left on hand. There's a 40-point lead. So Jean-Eric Vergne would have to fall out of the next race in
I mean, basically,
Zurich.
he would need to do a repeat of Buemi last year in order to lose the title. In a way,
Yeah, he would have to not score points next
he would
time
have to
out.
skip around altogether and say,
Well, not skip around. He just wouldn't have to score any points. So he could.
Yeah.
He would have to crash out of Zurich, which might be a possibility. But then he would still probably be with a handy point lead, even if that happened. And then he would have to have a horrible doubleheader in New York. So
yeah.
it's highly unlikely.
Yeah, you're right. It is rather unlikely that that will happen, but it did last year for Seb, and I think there is an element of that which could be playing on his mind coming into the weekend. But no, it's going to be a fun weekend, and I will be trackside at that one as well.
Your final race that you're going to be going to, yeah. Because you're not going to Brooklyn, which is probably for the best, because that track looks abysmally poor. And
they have changed it slightly.
How have they changed?
I think they've changed one of the chicanes slightly, and I think they've done another tweak somewhere to the layout as well, from memory. So
they okay, well, I haven't seen it, so I don't know. I'm not looking forward to the Brooklyn doubleheader, because it's probably just going to be a follow the leader type race like it was last season. So yeah, it doesn't inspire much confidence.
It's either way. It's going to be an interesting run into the end of the season, especially with Zurich being such a new track for all the teams and drivers. It's going to be quite interesting, I think.
That actually seems like a very good lineup or layout for the track. So
the location as well looks quite special, actually. It's the pitch straight running alongside Lake Zurich.
Yeah, that should be picturesque. The only complaint is that there's not enough Swiss drivers.
There's Buemi and Edo Mortara.
Is he, though? Is he really Swiss? Or is he just under a Swiss racing license?
Well, we could argue the same about Kamui Kobayashi. Is he
we know
Japanese,
he's not Swiss.
Or is he Monegasque? Because he raced under Monegasque license in Hong Kong.
We know he's not actually from Monaco, is he? He's Japanese.
Yeah.
He's always been Japanese. For some reason, they had him under Monegasque license under his Formula E debut, so I still can't figure that one out. Yeah, I would argue Eduardo Mortara is more Italian than he is Swiss, but okay.
Yeah, it should be a fun weekend, and yeah, there'll be coverage of it here on GTHub podcast.
And on your website that you write.
Yes. Am I allowed to plug it?
Well, you are an official journalist, so why not?
All right, the website is just-electric.org.
There you go. Look out for his writings there, and his music on that website. But other than on here, of course. But there was one person that, speaking of Berlin, there was one person that wasn't there in the paddock that you didn't run into.
Being?
One Alex Ty.
Yes, one Mr. Alex Ty, the team boss of DS Virgin. And yeah, you're right, he was not there.
Quite possibly because he's gone
from the team.
From the team, yeah.
Yes.
Rather quietly, it would seem. Because the Chinese ownership structure has made its first change there.
I thought it was Richard Branson.
Well, he's sold a 50% ownership of the stake of the team to Chinese energy company Envision.
Right, I was going to say, I was hoping you were not going to say CEFC there for a moment.
No, that's a different Chinese engine company.
Energy.
Energy company, rather. Sorry.
And
Well, they
one
actually
that's-
want to become an energy or an engine manufacturer and formally. That's part of one of their goals.
Yeah, interesting.
Yes.
Yes. And also, it's been confirmed that Formula E is going to be going to Saudi Arabia next year. Yeah, God.
No, not just next year. For another
For the
9
next
years
9
after
years
that.
after
Yeah.
that.
As the season opener.
Yes, and for all 10 of those years, I will categorically not be going.
Well, they wouldn't let you in either anyway.
Yeah. Flights are expensive for a start. Can't afford them. But no, I genuinely not actually that keen on it.
I question the. I mean, it's a good thing, I guess, I suppose, because they're embracing alternative energy and at a major event. But do they really deserve a race of any major magnitude, given their human rights records? You know.
Yes, and
It's a
right.
bit
So
of
on
the
the
Azerbaijan question, isn't it?
yeah. So on the Friday, there was a press conference before the race featuring Alejandro Hag and Nico Rosberg, because Nico's a shareholder in the series. He was due to test the Gen 2 car. More on that in a little bit. And we were in the press conference waiting, and there was no mention in the actual questions about Riyadh, about Saudi Arabia. So a journalist asked that, like, what assurances Alejandro had been given as to whether women would be allowed to work.
Well, yes, they said they would. They were strongly pushing for a female driver in the race. So I don't know if that'll be the only participation from women, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, and Alejandro did say that if they couldn't get a female driver to race in the series, then there would be a female driver doing, say, a demonstration run. And this was, he said as well that this was actually at the request of the Saudi Arabian.
Yeah,
government.
which was a bit fishy to me because I'm just like, well,
Yeah.
they're making it mandated that they want someone to be in the event, but how many women will actually be working the event is the question, and who would the woman driver be? Because I can't see anyone being plucked from obscurity to agree to do that role, other than possibly Susie Wolf, because she's taking up a role with the organization itself.
Through the
God forbid
through
it's
her.
Carmen Jorda either. Oh god, that'd be awful. But then again, that'd be quite apt, actually.
Yeah. But anyway, moving on from that, because I just can't be bothered to go any further.
I don't.
I'm pissed off of it enough already. But yeah, there's the Gen 2 car was on track for the first time, and I've seen the YouTube.
Oh yeah, you
footage of it.
lucky boy, you got to see it in person. Yeah,
I got to see it standing still. It looked absolutely
yeah,
fantastic. I
because
didn't get to see
somehow
it on track,
you
so I was
missed it on track because you would rather have been at McDonald's. Yeah,
well, I had to get some lunch. All right.
you could have gone afterwards.
Yeah, but it was already like 3 o'clock. 2, 3
It's
o'clock.
poor
in the
timing as
afternoon.
usual on your part. Yeah, but anyway.
But yeah, and I'll tell you what, that looks looking at how quick it was on track. Serious bit of kit, mate.
Yeah, Nico Rosberg seemed to be having a bit of fun out there in his return to a single seater race car. Yeah. He was really pushing that car. That's a really quick car on a proper track. It seems to have proper downforce with it now, and also
Yeah.
power.
Even looking at the render, the size of the rear diffuser on that is massive.
It's more than massive. It's almost rivaling GTE levels of diffuser.
Yeah.
It's well, also that wasn't the first debut of of the weekend. The other debut coming with the Jaguar I-Pace. No, was it I-Pace? Yeah, I-Pace Electric Trophy or whatever the series is called.
Yeah, it's a one-make series using identical Jaguar I-Paces that have been modified for race use.
Being run and fielded by M Sports, actually.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. I mean, they've got they obviously know
We're
how
not
to-
being fielded, but run by, rather.
how to build cars with all-wheel drive, but you know,
Oh, are they all-wheel drive?
well, I was going to say they used to. Well, I think the standard car is. Actually, I'm going to have to look that up now.
I thought it was rear-wheel drive.
Pace. Go on, load.
As he figures that out, yeah. Alejandro
Yes.
Agag took that car around the track, and he seemed to be enjoying himself. He actually missed the pit lane, I think. Remember, he was enjoying himself so well. Oh, actually, no, that was Nico Rosberg. Never mind.
I was going to say.
Wrong driver.
Yeah. I mean, come on. If you only want to do one more lap, you can tell he's a racing driver having a laugh. Okay, pit this lap. No.
Interestingly, he said he wasn't entertaining a drive with Mercedes when they come back. Also, he's not involved with the HWA team
He's
when they become
retired.
Mercedes. He says he's
believe.
retired, yes.
Well,
But
yeah.
do we really believe that?
Yeah.
Really? Well, I mean, I know he's retired as a driver, but I can't see him not maintaining some role with the team.
It's because of his role as an investor in the series, I think.
That might be the problem. Yeah, I'd forgotten he was an investor. Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. So the standard production I-Pace is dual motor all-wheel drive.
Oh, okay. So it is an all-wheel drive electric then. Okay. Should be interesting though, because the first team that was confirmed to be fielding an entry was Ray Holliderman Lanigan, which is quite interesting.
Yes, it was. I'm actually having a quick look to see. No, scroll
Quick
down.
Look at.
No, nothing I can find on whether the race car's all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive, but
Highly modified. I suspect it's either all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. Doesn't quite matter really. At this point, I would err on the side of it being possibly all-wheel drive because production car.
yeah, it could be. I mean, either way, it's going to be fun to watch.
Should be interesting though, because it'll actually fill dead time during a Formula E schedule, which is the worst part of Formula E weekends. The dead space that nothing fills the track time with. Because Robo Race isn't coming for another couple of years.
Actually, speaking of which, they actually had their DevBot cars at Tempelhof.
Well, they've been at every track in Europe, haven't they?
I don't know, but they were actually
Robo
letting
Race cars?
fans sit in the DevBot car. One of the DevBot
Well, while
cars.
it goes around, that's quite brave.
No. While it's parked up in the E-Village, in the
No, I
Allianz
was going to
E-Village.
say.
I was going to say, I was quite tempted to climb into it, but then again, I remembered, it's actually a Ginetta LMP3 chassis, and I don't fit in race cars terribly well because I'm quite tall.
What's a Ginetta LMP3 chassis? You should be able to fit.
Yeah, true. I just
They
remembered.
got Sir Chris Hoy in one of them. Surely you'll fit.
Yeah, they got Sir Chris Hoy and his thighs.
He's quite tall, though, isn't he? So-
Yeah, he is also actually, I think, pretty tall as well. So
you should have been able to fit.
Yeah. I didn't bother though, but then again, I really.
Can't be
It
bothered about
was
most things, yeah.
tempting, but no, I decided against it. Because they'd probably had to have taken the roof off to actually get me out of the car anyway.
Shame.
Because I don't actually have the upper body strength to really climb out of a racing car like that.
No, you don't, apparently. But sticking with the last bit of Formula E news, there was the confirmation over the weekend, or not the weekend, or over the past week or so, that oddly enough, since I mentioned HWA, that they're coming next season as a customer Venturi team.
Yes, I saw Toto in the paddock. Okay,
Not-
yes, that was more to do with the fact that he was
that
with
Mercedes is
Susie.
well, also that and the fact that Mercedes is going to be the taking over the HWA entry in season 6, branded as Mercedes EQ
I believe
something?
so, yes.
EQ plus FE or whatever the name is. It's Mercedes EQ something.
Yes, correct. I think it's going to be either way. It's cool that Mercedes are going to be in Formula E, and yeah, it's going
Well, it'll be all the German brands finally again. Yeah,
to, yeah, for the
BMW
first
and
time,
Mercedes.
and Porsche.
Porsche's not for another 2 years, right? Oh yeah, so because they join when Mercedes joins. That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so
So all 4 actually.
for the first time.
Well, in fairness, does it count though? Because both of them are VW brands. So
I still think it does.
Audi and Porsche. So yeah.
Yeah,
I actually don't know if they modified the seat to fit Chris Hoy in there. Actually, stuff. That's a good question. I imagine they move the leg sides out a bit, but
I think he did also. I think I remember reading somewhere that he did actually have to lose a fair bit of muscle size.
well, yeah, his thighs were chafing on the inside there. Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds quite painful. Yeah.
Yeah, it does a bit.
Moving past that news, there's also a potential driver change in the offing come the end of the Brooklyn E-Prix.
Yes, because you're not allowed to change drivers anymore because last 3 rounds you have to keep the same driver lineup.
And that would be with Dragon Racing, which oddly enough you were talking before the podcast.
Yes, it'll be for Jerome D'Ambrosio. He's been confirmed. He's confirmed he won't be driving for the team he's driven for actually since the series started.
Yes, so for season 5, he's looking for another team, which probably won't be long before he signs with one. HWA are looking for drivers, and Venturi might be as well. So I
Yes,
wouldn't be too sorry for the Glad.
I reckon my predictions for this are that Venturi will stick Tom Dillman in the car. I think.
Well, Tom Dillman is
Their test driver, development driver. I think, Dragon. I think have tested Max Gunter.
Yeah, that's who they're rumored to be replacing D'Ambrosio with.
And I would not be surprised if that was the case. And also, Neo have been testing Harry Tinknell as well, I think.
This seems to be another situation where another situation of a team pushing someone out in favor of Jose Maria Lopez, which I find unacceptable. He's got ironclad contracts, that man.
Yes, but then again, he is very, very quick.
Yes, he's also very, very crashy.
Yeah.
I still find it. I will hold it against him to the end of the day, but he threw away 2 perfectly good wins for Toyota and for no reason. But yeah, anyway.
Oh, Shanghai and Silverstone last year.
Yeah, when they were comfortably in their hands and handed Porsche wins that they had no business actually claiming. But yeah.
Well, a win's a win, you know.
Yeah, they're not going to argue, but Jose Maria Lopez. Quick but crashy. Yeah, that should be a catch line for him.
Quick but no, that's not going to catch on. You know that.
I'll make it catch on. But yeah, that's all the FE news for that. And segueing into a different sort of discipline that happened over the weekend, and that was GT racing. In the form of the Silverstone 3 hours, or should I say the 3 hours of Snorestone, because it was rather boring.
Yes, I think I might have time. Yes, I think I might have time to get a drink while we discuss Silverstone.
Hurry up, because it's not going to be much.
It's not going to be long, yeah. You'll have time. About 5 minutes should take, yeah. Anyway, we'll start with qualifying for Silverstone, and that saw the number 76 R Motorsports Aston Martin V12 Vantage GT3 of Mathieu Vaxivière, Jake Dennis, and Nicky Thiem post a 1:56.962 average lap to claim their first pole in their second race as a team. However, the drama started from the get-go as their times were thrown out because there was an issue with their data loggers, not having any data on them. So that was interesting, and they appealed that verdict, so the decision on them actually racing is still being evaluated by the stewards. So the fact that they won the race inevitably is still very much unclear. So keep posted on that in future days.
The thing is, like, so many other things get penalized so quick, and this one takes ages. I don't get why.
Well, they chose to appeal the penalty. That's why it's taking so long.
But even appeal penalties sometimes don't take as long as days after the race or weeks.
It's true. I suspect that's quite complicated. That's why they're having to take a look at the penalty there. Because it's rather complex as to how a data logger can have no data on it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which seems a bit fishy to me.
Well,
but
regardless, they started in pole.
That's what's having on that, and they started from pole. The Pro-Am pole went to the 333 Rinaldi Racing Ferrari of Alexander Matschul, Rinat Salikov, and Daniel Kelevitz. Silver pole was the number 54 Emil Frey Jaguar Racing Jaguar G3 of Alex Fontana, Adrian Zaug, and Michael Grenier. And AM pole was the 188 Garage 59 McLaren 60S GT3 of Alexander West, Chris Harris, and Chris Goodwin, who would also go on to win the AM Cup class in the race as well.
Quite surprisingly.
Yeah, well, it wasn't really surprising. They're the strongest in the AM class because there was only, what, 2 cars in that category?
I'm not sure. But still, I don't know. McLaren
Have a quick look here.
Not showing much performance last year.
Well, McLaren's in the hands of McLaren factory drivers for the road cars, and Garage 59 seems to be the solution for all McLaren handling woes, or K-Packs in that regard. Yeah. How many other cars? 1, 2, 3, 4.
There's a few.
5. Oh, there were a few. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they had some competition. But they won from pole, and that set up the race, which, like I said, the 76 Aston very undramatically won the race in the hands of Matthew Vox Vieira, Jake Dennis' team, to claim the team's first win. And to put into perspective how undramatic the race was up front, was literally the only other car to lead the race was the number 88 Mercedes-AMG Team ACA ASP entry of Tristan Vautier, Adam Christodoulou, and Raffaele Marcello, who went on to finish second. And the only drama really came in the form of the 114 Emil Frey Lexus of Marcus Paltala, Stefan Ortelli, and Norbert Siedler, trying to hold off the number 1 Audi R8 LMS to claim the final overall podium position. That was literally the only drama of the race, pretty much at the end.
There was the 63, which... Hold up, let me...
had a bit of a tire rub at the end, didn't it? Or a puncture, either one. Came smoking across the line.
I wouldn't say a bit. It's on the screen right now. Yeah.
A massive tire rub, how about that?
Yeah. Mirko Bortolotti.
Or tire blowout. I'm actually not sure what happened there.
They had a puncture.
Yeah, tire blowout at the end. Yeah, a puncture.
And Mirko was told to keep pushing, so he pushed. That's the result of it. A little bit toasty, some fire extinguisher action.
Ah, so the favorite of Lamborghini crew members then, yes. fire extinguishers.
No, the favorite is kicking body panels now and losing wheels.
No, that's GRT crew members.
Oh yeah.
Come on, it's got to be the different engine restrictors on Lamborghinis.
No, that's IMSA. Yeah, I think you're wrong again.
Yeah, sorry, my bad.
These are the SRO BOP restrictions, which have seemingly only hampered Lamborghinis when the GRT guys do well. Yeah, I don't know how to explain that one, actually. Maybe I just have. I have no idea. But yeah, they're off the pace when they had some earlier, so I don't know how to explain that one. But they had an abysmal race. The 63 had issues. The 19 had issues because they had issues. The 82 had issues as well, but that's the car that seems to just draw the...
No, it's the 19 that has all the issues. It takes the bad luck for the team constantly.
Actually, I think this race they had a pretty good race, if I remember correctly, because I don't recall them having any issues on camera.
They had...
Oh, they had problems again. Okay.
Yeah, they had 2 tire blows.
Oh, so it was a higher issue for the entire GRT team then, or this past weekend. That was interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Although
yeah,
no one really know what happened in the second one, because you could see that like the inner fender line on the rear left became like undone and wedged between the tire and the rest of the bodywork, so that kind of sliced the tire.
That's what happened. Yes, that's what inevitably ended up the crew shouting something in German and kicking the car. Yeah.
Yes.
I take it was not like "Hallo, wie geht's? Guten Tag."
It wasn't very family friendly. Yeah.
More like "Scheiße."
Yeah, something like...
Yeah, somewhere along those lines. Yes.
Scheiße.
But yeah, the 63 is still... Or, in general, the Lamborghinis are still struggling with a lot of weight disadvantage.
Weight penalties and engine BOP. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. They all struggle, I think, for the regular races. However, their strong suit will probably be this coming race coming up in Paul Ricard with the 1,000 kilometers there. That should be right in their wheelhouse. The new Bentleys are struggling again as well, so I think that's when they'll come good.
Well, it depends. They should just sandbag in free practice and qualifying, to be fair. Because...
Sandbagging in an event? Please, nobody does that.
No,
oh, wait.
Not at all. Because
not at all.
They get hit every week with, like, extra weight, restriction, you know. Like, there's no week where they're not at least, like, 20 kilos of extra weight on the car.
It does seem as if they're BOPing the driver lineup, which seems a bit unfair to me.
But
and you can't really do.
No, it's even the slow cars, even with the 82 and the 19.
Well, that's what I mean, though. It's because the GRT Lamborghini seems to be having pace, but because they've been saddled with having a disadvantage, the driver lineup makes up for it, and because they're performing, they get more weight on a car that's already slow in the hands of, not in the hands of Mirko Bortolotti or Andrea Bertolini.
No,
so
Andrea
yeah.
Cardarelli. Not.
Right, sorry, wrong Andrea. That's other Italian. That's in a different Italian car, ironically enough. Yeah.
It is weird seeing, like, especially the 63 car performing this bad.
I chalk it up to them changing their colors. That's what it is. You see, they need to go back to being all green, and they'll have pace again.
That doesn't help.
Hey, you never know.
Well, if the season continues, probably Orange One won't stay on board.
They'll probably
the
stay on
Mazda
board.
look like.
The cheap Mazda look-alike, yes.
Yeah, the kleiner Mazda.
The better Mazda look-alike.
Nope,
Nothing is
the best.
Yes.
No, nothing beats the 787B livery, renowned colors. Nope, we'll not have none of that. None of that.
Fine.
You're wrong, sir. You're just wrong. You can have your wrong opinion, but it's still wrong. Anyway, Pro-Am Cup was won by the 49 Ram Racing Mercedes of Ewan Henke, Sally Ulick and Darren Burke, and Silver Cup went to the number 6 Black Falcon of, ironically enough, since you mentioned him earlier with the FE, Abdulaziz Al Faisal, Hubert Haupt, and Gabriele Ipiana. So that was Silverstone.
I did not mention Abdulaziz Al Faisal, and then I remembered, oh yeah, that's because he's from Saudi Arabia.
Well, he's the Prince, yeah, and also the what do you call it? The ACN or ASN, whatever it is. Yeah, ASN for Saudi Arabia. He's the chair there.
Interesting.
So, yes. Oh, you didn't know that? You should have known that when you went to cover the FE press conference. Surprised by that, actually. But moving to actually generic news, but still sticking with the Blancpain theme that way. There was a bit of a shock announcement from Honda concerning the Spa 24 hours.
Oh yes, I've seen that one. We were discussing this when I was after I'd had a few beers, didn't we?
Ah, yes.
In a hotel bar in Berlin.
I am not up to date on this at all.
The announcement concerning the Honda will return to the Spa 24 hours after a 25-year absence.
Oh.
With a Honda NSX GT3 being supported by JAS Motorsports under the banner of Castrol Honda Racing. And the team that will field the entry has not yet been announced, but it's a very pretty looking thing. Delivery. Yeah. If you have the actually have the link so you can put it on the thing. But it's a very pretty looking car.
Where's
nope, that's well, since you have that, actually that's the NSX on the poster there, but nice that you bring that up as well. You can show this and then show the Castrol livery. But this is the poster for the 70th Total 24 Hours of Spa at the end of July, and quite eclectic mix of cars there.
I'm most interested in
old
this.
Vitaphone. Also,
I said I'm most interested in that BMW.
Which one? There's 3 of them on there.
The 635i, the 24.
Oh, that was the BMW park car, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There's the old Vitaphone Maserati MC12 on there, and also the GT2 class Porsche that won overall back in 2003.
Oh, that's going back, yeah.
That was a proper classic win, that was.
Of course, you have the Viper there, and you have the other ones. Yes. Ah, there's the Castrol livery. Yes, making its return to a GT car finally.
Yes.
It reminds me of a British flag somehow, like the lines of it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, what you're saying.
Looks nothing like the British flag. It looks better for a start.
Coming from a
hell,
yes.
I went to Berlin hoping to get away from the royal wedding.
I'm going to steer this back on course because we will not mention it. I was hoping, but you.
I was going to say
so,
that Jaguar did have a very nice cake spread out the front of their garage.
I hope
on Saturday morning.
They had wedding cake there, really?
No, they had Victoria Sponge.
Oh, I thought you said
Very
they had
nice
a wedding
Victoria
cake. I was going to say, interesting.
They had Victoria Sponge and props. I refused to take a prop British flag because, yeah.
Anyway, moving back to my point with the Honda Castrol Racing NSX, they were gone for 25 years, and they will be back. And the last time an NSX raced at Spa was a year after I was born, with the entry from Honda Belgium.
You're old.
Yes, I know. Being driven by Armin Hahn, one Bertrand Gachot, and
Gloss. Bertrand Gachot. He's very. Did he have any tear gas on him?
Don't understand that reference. But, Bertrand Gachot and
he tear gassed a taxi driver in central London and ended up spending a few, I think it was a few months at Her Majesty's pleasure, And
Anyway,
down the
getting
neck,
back to
and
the point,
yeah.
Rob, getting to the point. Armin Han, Bertrand Gachot, don't mention it again, and one Kazuo Shimizu.
Kazuo?
And the only reason why I mentioned the driver lineup is because it has Kazuo in it. Yes. And he's not even here to hear the reference. So yeah, well done. But anyway, moving past that one, we can go moving and actually sticking with it, kind of, in a way, with Super GT. The best race of the weekend, as far as I'm concerned. And that was the Suzuka GT 300-kilometer Fan Festival.
And I still haven't seen it yet because I'm an idiot.
You should watch this after the podcast is done. If you guys haven't seen it yet, it's worth watching because it's wonderful.
Fantastic. So I've just seen a picture of some Victoria sponge in the corner.
Very tiny sponge, yeah.
Well, I can make it almost a full screen if you want.
Oh, yes, please.
There you go.
Thank you.
Bad resolution, but there you go.
Why is there cake on the corner of the screen? Oh, now it's big in the center of the screen. Oh, dear.
make it
Oh,
hungry.
yes. Oh, yes.
I'm
So
already
much
hungry, so this isn't helping me, you bastard.
I was going to say, I think I do still have some Linzer tort downstairs.
Hate both of you for dragging me off course again.
Verstalpine gave away for free. Oh, God.
Why are you mentioning this now? You should just...
Because you mentioned it.
I was trying to get to the results, but now you've preempted it. So
now
yeah.
we've
Who
got
cares? It's
a plushie.
yeah.
Now we've got the baby deer Stegosaurus creature thing on the podium, and yeah, Super GT being wonderful as always with whatever that was, the happy deer Stegosaurus creature. And it's young being presented to the winners there, yes.
The only child was unfortunately sacrificed in order to be given to the Arthur.
It was offered up as a sacrifice to the winning GT300 and GT500 team.
I was going to say, before you can say Mr. Orange Jacket for a moment.
Well, I'm sure he got one as well for his children if he had any, yeah.
Yes.
But speaking of the Arta Autobox and Mr. Orange Jacket, they started on pole with the number 8 NSX GT of Tomoki Nojiri and Takuya Izawa, and the GT300 pole was the number 96 K-Tunes Racing Lexus RCF GT3 of Morionita and Yuichi Nakayama. And the interesting thing about qualifying was that every single GT500 car broke the previous track record. And the first 11 cars in GT300 broke their class record as well. So, yeah.
Yes, I think I mentioned in the bar just how quick the lap times were this year.
The weather was good this year and moved it away from being in the summer, so that helps a bit.
Yeah, but the GT500 lap times were on par with the 1993 Peugeot Le Mans prototype.
Group C car, yeah.
The Group C car, yeah. And the GT300 lap times were actually not far off the overall pole position time from about 15 or so years ago.
Yeah, they were really getting after it. The times are quite quick. They were quite quick over the weekend. But keeping instead with the pole sitters there, keep in mind the number 8 and the number 96, because they would be the ones who won their respective classes. However, both of them would not take it very easily in the end. As the number 8 had to hold off the number 100 Team Kurimitsu Raybrigg NSX GT of Naoki Yamamoto and one Benson Jutton, as this Nismo TV would like to point out to you, otherwise known as Jensen Button, to bring home a Honda 1-2 at their home at Suzuka. And it was the first win of the season for the number 8 Arta NSX. And they held off the 100 car by just scant 2 seconds there. So it was very close in the end. However, that wasn't the dramatic race. That went to the GT300. Actually, no, hang on. I'll go back to GT500 first because the final podium there went to the number 1 keeper Tom's LC500 of Ryo Hirakawa and Nick Cassidy. And upon being on the podium, Nick Cassidy would perform a shoey. Yeah, so...
Good lad. Good
Bad
lad.
He's from that part of the world that does that.
Come on, that's offensive to...
Everyone who's in the Antipodes gets a podium. They do that. No one else does that because it's an Australian or New Zealand thing.
No one
Just saying.
should. Because some.
Well, reserving judgment because I'm not going to say anything. It was Arda's first Suzuka win since Ralph Furman, Yuji Ide, and Takashi Kobayashi won the Suzuka Summer Special, 1,000 kilometers in 2010. And it was also their first 300 kilometers win since 2001. And ironically enough, Takuya Izawa won his first race for Arda since leaving them in 2009. And he had to return to the team after he was booted from Kunimitsu to make room for Jenson Button. So, quite a circle that was completed there.
Wow.
Yes. And also with their podium finish, Naoki Yamamoto and Jenson Button lead
Benson
the GT500. Benson Jutton lead the GT500 points by single points over the Nismo drivers Sujio Matsuda and Ronnie Quintarelli. So the points battle is tight in GT500. Now, going back to GT300, Mori Onita and Yuichi Nakayama won from pole, but they had to do so after pit stop strategies jumbled the field. After the safety car that was brought out by, who was it? Heikki Kovalainen going off in the Denso Kobelco Sard LC500. After going off at Degner. That brought out this one and only safety car of the race, and that shuffled the field after green flag was thrown, and pit stops happened. The number 0 and the number 18, or the number 0 Good Smile Hatsune Miku AMG did not take tires when it made its stop, and the number 18 Up Garage 86MC didn't pit for tires as well. So that handed them first and second through the pit stop cycle. However, the number 96 Lexus did come in for 4 Bridgestones and fuel, and that gave him the pace as well because, well, he tracked down from 5th to eventually on lap 36 making a move at the Casio Triangle around the outside of the number 0 car, which was sadly the downfall of the... Actually, I say sadly, I actually don't care.
That's because you're the one moderating on Nismo TV, in fairness.
Yeah, I'm being diplomatic for once, yeah. The Good Smile Hatsune
Come on, there's no
Miku
need to be
AMG.
diplomatic, mate.
Alright, okay, well, it met its demise, basically, with its crap strategy and fell down to 8th after its tires were done in. And the number 18 also suffered the same fate, so they finished 6th and 8th, respectively. Their tire gamble didn't pay off, and the resulting battle between the number 96 and the number 0 brought the top 5 in GT300 into the mix with the final laps, which saw the number 25 Happy 86MC of Takamitsu Matsui and Sho Suboi finish 2nd, and rounding out the podium was a well-deserved run for the number 61 Subaru BRZ R&D Sport entry of Takuto Iguchi and Hideki Yamauchi. And with Mori Onita winning, it was his 19th career GT300 win, and also his first win since the 2013 Fuji 500 kilometers race. And that allowed him to draw even with Shinichi Takagi, who just claimed the overall all-time GT300 win list lead the previous round at Fuji. So now they're even again.
Yay!
And with the win for... with the podium for Matsui, and Tsuboi, they draw even in points with Shinichi Takagi and Sean Walkinshaw for the GT300 point lead. However, with the win for the Arta BMW duo at Fuji, they hold the tiebreaker, so they're still first in points. So that was the Super GT race. Very dramatic and worthwhile to the end, really, in both classes.
Yeah, it sounded pretty bloody good, actually. Shame I missed it, but yeah, I'll catch up at some point. I still need to catch up with the previous round as well from Fuji, but yeah.
That was one storyline. Yes, something to do after this podcast, Rob, or Penta, or both of you. You had one. Actually, anyone who's on the listening right now, you should all watch it if you didn't watch it, because it was great. But moving into the next topic of discussion, which is basically the rest of the show. Actually, no. Before we do that, I forgot to mention the one final point of sports cars, and that was the Le Mans 24-hour entry list finally being finalized.
Finally.
Yeah, well, that's finally finalized. Yes, finally.
Finally finalized the final Le Mans entry.
Okay, enough. The only entries that were changed in LMP1 class were the CEFC TRSM Ginettas, having a driver change for the number 5, and that being Dean Stoneman out in favor of Ginetta factory driver Mike Simpson, because he has experience in endurance races and Dean Stoneman doesn't. And they want to bring home their nice shiny cars at Le Mans. So, yeah. That was LMP1's change. In LMP2, we had a surprise. Well, not a surprise, actually, in fairness with the first car, but the second entry has a surprise entry that has one of Penta's favorite drivers in it, but we'll get to that in a minute. Jackie Chan DC Racing and the number 33 and number 34 Ligier JSP 217s that were entered courtesy of their Asian Le Mans wins. Actually, no, their Asian Le Mans win and their win at Le Mans last year. The 33 has David Cheng, Nicolas Boule from IMSA, and Pierre Nicolet, who is the son of Jacques Nicolet.
And actually quite a good driver as well.
Is he the son of Jacques, or is he his brother?
Son.
Son, okay, I got that right the first time. Excellent. Filling out the first car. The second car consisting of Comme Ledegar, who is or Ledegar, whichever one pronounce it, I don't know. I think it's Ledegar, yeah.
I bow to your superior knowledge.
I'm going with that one. And David Heimermeyer Hansen with a surprise third driver coming, or actually first driver coming in the form of one Fonzie's owner.
Oh, now you know. I know what
Ricky Taylor.
Yes, who was booted from the Corvette Racing lineup. But he still finds a home in LMP2. So he'll get to make a start at Le Mans again. So he'll keep his consistent streak of Le Mans appearances intact.
Hey, Fonzie's owner's getting a drive. Fantastic.
Fantastic. And he's also very handy lineup, or handy driver to be in an LMP2 car because he's quite quick.
Yeah, Fonzie's son.
Inheriting that drive there at Jackie Chan DC Racing. And the other two entries that are of note, Andrea Pizzitola joins Roman Rusinov and Jean-Eric Verne in the number 26 Drew Drive Racing Orca, which is basically just the lineup they have in ELMS, correct?
Sorry, what was the lineup again? Drive lineup?
Sorry.
The number 26 G Drive Racing Orca has Roman Rusinov, Jean-Eric Verne, and Andrea Pizzitola.
Correct, yeah, that is the European Le Mans Series lineup.
Right, okay, so I thought that's what it was. And the last note comes in the number 35 SMP Racing Dallara P217. That sees Victor Shaitar being joined by Norman Natso and Harrison Newey. And with the addition of Norman Giovinazzo to the number 35. That means the Repsol Racing Engineering entry has been withdrawn off the reserve entry.
Ah, that's
Yes.
a shame.
Well, he's got to drive, and he was the only driver listed for Racing Engineering, so that has been stripped off the reserve entry list. And Black Swan Racing has announced a partnership with Proton Competition to complete their lineup in their number 99 Porsche 911 RSR. That will see Spencer Pumpelly and Tim Pappas join Patrick Long to make an all-American lineup there. So that's an entry that will definitely have pace in GTEM, for sure.
America!
Indeed. Keep an eye on that one. And that's the American entry to look out for, not the WeatherTech. Oh, wait, no, the WeatherTech one's not even American. It's under JMW, so that's a British lineup of British car American driver lineup.
Yes, that's correct.
No,
British
wait, we
run,
have a British
Italian
with them
car
as well, so never mind.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, I was going to say Italian car, British run team.
Yeah. Well, what was the other American lineup with the WeatherTech? The red WeatherTech car with Keating lineup with the Reese guys, yeah. But the only reserve entries remaining are the number 55 Spirit of Race Ferrari 488 GTE of Duncan Cameron, Aaron Scott, and Marco Ciocci, and the number 49 High Class Racing Dallara PT17 Gibson of Anders Fjordbach and Dennis Anderson. So, yes. That is the reserve entries there.
And, of course, we'll be doing a full Le Mans preview
Later. Near the time, yeah.
Yes, which is going to be fun.
And that was that. And now we can go to the proper half of the show, which is the Indy 500 preview. Where do we begin, really? Madness ensued, basically.
Yes, on bump day as well.
Not just bump day. The entirety of practice is insanity because no one can get their head around the new aero package, it seems, because every driver that has been interviewed by anyone seemingly has the same words to be said, and that is, if you qualify up front, you'll be running up front and there'll be a slipstream. But if you're way back in the field, you're going to be in with a bit of a handful. Yeah, that's going to be a bit interesting. Lots of twitchy cars, I think, come Sunday.
Oh boy.
Yes, keep a pin on that one because it'll be quite interesting. But before we delve into that, there were some news items that announced before then concerning the week after the Indy 500, and that was that Santino Ferrucci will be driving the number 19 Honda for Dale Coyne in both of the races.
The kid who's meant to be Haas's test and reserve driver in F1.
Yes, also not the first time that Haas's reserve driver or a Haas F1 driver being linked or driving for Dale Coyne. The first driver being Esteban Gutierrez last season, yes, filling in for Sebastian Bourdais. So, interesting that. He should be quite quick, actually, because he seems to do quite well on a bumpy street circuit, Santino Ferrucci. And Detroit is quite bumpy, so, yeah.
And definitely a street circuit, even if it is in the park.
Well, streets, park, it's on
Park.
semi-streets, yeah.
A lot of concrete. Also on Le Mans Test Day weekend as well, which means that the IndyCar drivers who compete at Le Mans get a buy, effectively, from
well,
being
they're
at
also
Test Day.
platinum drivers, so they don't need to be there either.
It's just the IMSA drivers, half of whom are going to have to catch the good old red eye.
One Pablo Montoya being among them, yeah.
Yes, and one Pablo Montoya, who, even though he's a platinum graded driver, I think still has to attend anyway because it's his first Le Mans.
He's never driven at Le Mans, so yeah, but he just did a simulator test the other day, so he's good with that. But he will have to run his laps at Le Mans to be certified. So he'll do that at test day.
Oh, bugger.
But we go back to now proper Indy qualifying. And, well, the madness that was bump day ensued.
That was some classic that was some classic banter between us that night.
I think it was classic banter to anyone who was watching the ensuing madness. Really, that was.
You were speechless, mate.
I'm
Trying
still
to
speechless,
explain
and this happened on Saturday, and I can't wrap my head around the fact that
Technically, it was Sunday morning for me in Berlin, but I was on the phone. I was on voice chat, private voice chat, and you were basically describing what was going on bump day. And then all of a sudden, with about 10, 11, 12 minutes to go, you just came to the sudden realization of, shit, I don't think Hinch is going to qualify.
Yeah, in fairness, to set this up though properly,
Yeah.
the day before in the Fast Friday practice, one Mr. James Davison did his best to write off his car, in which is the wonderful amalgamation of the Foyt, Belardi, Hollinger, missing one.
Rahal.
No, it was
Reynard,
the Foyt, Belardi,
Juncos.
Junko. No, what was it? I have to find it. Anyway, the 33 car was written off. Well, not written off, but crashed thoroughly in his best effort to write off the car. But they were able to repair it in time for qualifications. Qualifications there, and 33. It was the number 33. Foyt with Bird, Hollinger, Belardi entry. That's what it was. He wrote off his car basically, but they found spare parts from Belardi and other people running around getting them, repairing it, and that ended up having a nice time set of. Hello, Pigeon. Sorry about that. Having their drama of having to rebuild the car in time for bump day, but they did. So they were looking like the odd man out alongside one of the cars, which ended up being one of the two Dale Coyne cars was looking to be the odd man out, along with Graham Rahal, because Graham Rahal didn't seem to have the pace going into bump day, but he sweated bullets and ended up finding pace from nowhere to get his car scraped in, along with Oriol Servia, who had a massive tank slapper coming on his first run as the car was bottoming out. So they withdrew his car and had to fix whatever was wrong with that issue. And he went back out to make a speed, and he found it, and it was safely in at 31st, I seem to recall. I think that was what he ended up bumping his way in at. But he locked his way in. So the Rahal cars were in, which meant that put pressure on the Dale Coyne entries of Connor Daly and Pippa Mann, and also as a result of the number 33 of James Davison finding some pace and bumping his way in, that bumped out James Hinchcliffe in the number 5 Aero Electronics Schmidt-Peterson Honda. And, well, in a situation, in a scenario no one saw coming, he ran out of time, to put it plain and simple, really, to make it in. Because he didn't withdraw his time because he wanted to be in, but Dale Coyne withdrew the time for Pippa Mann, which bumped her out and put her in front of James Hinchcliffe at the end of the first line of cars that withdrew their times, which also saw Alexander Rossi and Scott Dixon go back out to try and improve their times to bump themselves the way into the Fast 9. However, Alexander Rossi came out short on that regard, and so that was all for naught. So that wasted more time to get Hinchcliffe back in, because in what they seem to have forgotten, the gun for qualifying to end the day went off at 5:50 p.m. and not 6 o'clock like the team had predicted, or the team had seemed to think, because due to ESPN/ABC's TV window over the last couple of years, the gun goes off at 5:50 for TV, as opposed to how it had been at 6 o'clock, which, if it was that case, he would have had enough time to bump his way back in, because ironically, he had the speed, and they knew they had the speed. They just didn't have time on their side. Because Pippa Mann was the last person to go out, and she didn't even make it in because she was so slow. But the realization on the James Hinchcliffe's face that he wouldn't even get out to make a run to bump his way back in was drama in itself. So ABC got their drama in the fact that Hinch was out. And yeah, that was a bit tragic. And to make matters worse, both he and Pippa Mann had to go to the media room to be interviewed by the accredited journalists there at the end of a miserable day for both of them. And fair play to James Hinchcliffe, though. He took it all in stride and said, we just didn't make it in. And we probably don't have a drive, and, well, I'll drive whatever Rick Peterson and Sam Schmidt give me. So that was his outcome, and he rightfully said everyone blaming Pippa Mann shouldn't be doing that because it's not her fault. We just got the time wrong, which is true. And poor old Pippa Mann was absolutely in tears in her press conference. Well, actually holding back tears because she was crying actually on the pit lane with the photo op that she was giving for the traditional entry photos. It was very, very tough scenes to watch, but we wanted Bump Day to be back, and we got drama. So that was Bump Day on Saturday.
Mm-hmm. And, well, Saturday/Sunday here in Europe, but yeah.
It was quite something, and I'm still really wrapping my head around the fact that James Hinchcliffe will not be in the 102nd Indianapolis 500 come Sunday. Because, well, no one will sell him a car, quite frankly, and nor should they, because, well, they had packages and they have sponsors to live up to, so no one was going to budge on that accord. So that's how that ended up running. But he seems to be on the looking like he'll be doing some TV work for ABC come Sunday, and being in the Aero Hospitality unit for their sponsors. And the other remaining Schmidt cars will have bigger Aero signs on them, to hear. So it's good on both Aero and James Hinchcliffe for taking it on the chin and going in stride and just taking a positive out of it, really, and not being too down on themselves and blaming everyone else other than themselves. So that's a refreshing attitude to take. But that's how that ended. And come Sunday, we had pole day, which was also drama because the fast 9 were in order. The fast 9 in order was Danica Patrick, Scott Dixon, Danica Patrick, Scott Dixon, the 7th person out was...
It was Danica, and then Dixie, then... hang
on, I have the thing here somewhere.
We have it somewhere.
That's not the right document I had. Where is it? Let's see. That's not what I wanted. Bear with me, some technical difficulties here. It was definitely Danica Patrick in the Ed Carpenter Racing car that was 9th. Scott Dixon was 8th out in his, or actually was 2nd out in his PNC Bank Chip Ganassi Honda. It was here somewhere. This is lovely radio. I apologize.
I have even less knowledge as to what the hell is going on, so.
Where is the running order for the Fast 9? I know we had it open literally just
Shall I
a
start
couple of minutes
singing
ago.
just to fill some dead air?
Well, it didn't matter. The Penske's had the 4 cars in. The Ed Carpenter Racing cars were the 3 Ed Carpenter cars were locked in, and the only 2 Hondas were the number 18 of Sebastian Bourdais and the number 9 of Scott Dixon. So Chevy had 7 of the top 9, and Honda best chance came with Sebastian Bourdais, whose best could only conjure up a time of, or actually a speed of 5th fastest with a 2:28.142 average, which is a good effort on his part because he knew he was going to go for pole. However, the battle, as like I said, became between the Team Penske Armada and the Ed Carpenter Racing cars. And 9th ended up going to Scott Dixon, who really didn't have pace and was just trying to do his best there. 8th was the surprise of being one Helio Castroneves, because he was the last man to go out to try and bump Ed Carpenter off pole after he snatched it from Simone Pagenaud, who snatched it from Will Power.
I've
Because-
just seen the Fast 9 quali order.
Oh, did you? Okay, save me from myself, please.
Pigeon's just posted it in the chat. Thank you so much, Pigeon.
I really need to just have a hard line into his brain sometimes, because he's smarter than me half the time.
Smarter than me as well, but then again, that's not exactly difficult.
Pigeon, I invite you here to replace Forge and Rob on the podcast.
I mean, he's more welcome to it. Smarter than both of us combined, really. Yeah.
Yes, it's
Danica
Danica Patrick, Scott
Dixon.
Dixon, Joseph Newgarden, Spencer Piggott, Sebastian Bourdais, French Fry rather, Will Power, Simon Pagenaud, Ed Carpenter, and Helio Castroneves.
That was my problem. I could remember the bit that happened Power onwards, but I couldn't remember the people who were after Scott Dixon. But now that that's sorted, yeah.
Yes, the most professional podcast does on YouTube.
You claim we're professional. That's your first mistake.
Yeah, so what were you going to say about...
But Ed Carpenter got pole with a one lap, well, actually with 4-lap qualifying average of 229.618 miles an hour after his first opening lap was a 230 mile an hour lap. And 230 mile an hour opening lap, and he averaged 229.618 in his Fuzzy's Vodka Chevrolet to beat Simone Pagenaud and Will Power to be the to lead off the front row. And Joseph Newgarden and Helio Castroneves were the other Team Penske Chevys that were in the field. Joseph Newgarden qualifying 4th, and Helio Castroneves being 8th after he was the last man to go out. And the shock of the day was that he didn't have any pace, really. I don't know what went wrong there, but he qualified just in front of Scott Dixon. But
That's interesting.
so Ed Carpenter was the man on top there. Joseph Newgarden, like I said, was fourth. Sachin Bourdais was fifth with a 2:28.142 average. Spencer Pigot was sixth in the number 21. Ed Carpenter Chevy with a 2:28.107. Danica Patrick did fairly well with the average speed of 2:28.090. And Tony Kanaan and Matthias Leist, were 10th and 11th. Matthias Leist? Whatever.
I think it's Leist, I don't know.
Yeah, Matthias Leist. Were 10th and 11th for AJ Foyt in their Chevys, which were the surprise, actually, probably of the best of the rest field. And Marco Andretti was 12th, so he had some speed as well. Yeah, he looks quite good in his race pace, actually. So keep an eye on him on Sunday afternoon, because in his toe laps were quite fast. So we'll see how he does.
Wow.
Yes. Hang on one second. Read off the list starting from 13th, please.
What list?
The qualification results that I gave you.
I didn't see any qualification results.
In the podcast channel.
It's literally what he said a minute before the podcast started.
Oh, bugger, I didn't realise that. Didn't see it there.
It's above your Super GT post.
Ah, thanks. Yeah, I've just seen it now. Sorry about that. This is because we are that professional. After Marco Andretti, it was Zachary Clayman de Mello 13th, followed by Ryan Hunter-Ray, Charlie Kimball, Takuma Sato, Kyle Kaiser, Robert Wickens, James Davison and Max Chilton rounded out the top 20. 21st to 30th was Carlos Munoz, Gabby Chavez, Stefan Wilson, Sage Karam, Zach Veach, Oriol Servia, J.R. Hildebrand, Jay Howard, Ed Jones, and Graham Rahal. And the last three drivers in the field were Jack Harvey, Alex Rossi, and Connor Daly. The average speed of the field was 226.685 miles per hour. Hello?
Forza has died.
Oh, okay, yes. Right, and yeah, that was the end of the qualifications results from Indy, and yeah, it's like we said earlier, it's going to be quite interesting, I think, because like the job's been saying, the cars, when they're in traffic, do look a little sketchy. So it's going to be quite interesting to see just how the drivers get around it in terms of lapping traffic. So that could be one issue, but also at the same time, if you're at the nearer the back of the field, say, I mean, if you're in, for example, I mean, even Carlos Munoz, for example, is a bit of a specialist at Indy, and is usually fighting it out for a podium, but he was 21st on the grid this year. It could be difficult for a driver like him to make up the places to get nearer the front because of, well, where the way the new spec aero kits are. It's also worth noting the top speed's down to just 229.6. We didn't have any laps over 230 this year, but that could be changing quite soon because I have seen proposals to increase the power of the IndyCar engines to 900 horsepower from the next rule cycle.
Funny enough, sorry everyone, I had something to grab real quick. But funny that you mentioned the slower speed compared to last year. Apparently the bumper pods, or the affectionately named Kardashians, as they were called by people.
God.
I didn't claim to make the name myself, but that's just the name they were given. They were quite effective at reducing drag. As bad as they were, as much as they were ugly, yeah, they were quite good at being a drag reducing device. So
oh, brilliant.
that was why the speeds were higher last year, but the open wheels make the cars quite draggy at the rear, so that's why the speeds are a bit slower after the cars are a bit more streamlined. But an interesting note that I meant to say with Zachary Clement de Mello being qualifying 13th is that the note of that is his favorite number that he usually drives with is the number 13. And that is in honor of his grandmother, who, bear with me, his story's kind of a bit tear-jerking, but that's in honor of his grandmother, who was released from concentration camp on Friday the 13th. And that's the tattoo of the numbers that she was given while she was in that camp, adding up to 13. And ironically enough, he starts 13th, so he has a very special connection with that starting position he's in. So that was a bit of interesting news that emerged from the weekend.
Yes, even if Danica has taken the number 13 car number.
Well, unlucky 13, green car, all the things with that.
Yes.
He also has that number tattooed behind his right ear as well, which is interesting.
Wow. I was going to say another thing that's green is my my press pass.
You have a press pass? Not for long, you don't.
What?
You have one more event with it.
Oh yeah, true. Yes, but I've got I get individual press passes when I get to the track.
Oh, that's true. Never mind.
So, more than one.
Also another interesting note that came about as Stefan Wilson will be carrying. As I pause for a garbage truck to go by, apparently. Stefan Wilson will be carrying the names of 25 organ recipients on the front wings of his car, which is the sponsor on it being Driven to Save Lives, in honor of his brother Justin's organ donation that saved lives of multiple people after his tragic accident. And he will be the only one carrying organ donation message after Pippa Mann failed to qualify in her Donate Life car. So that's another interesting tidbit of sponsorship and news that emerged from the qualifications. But yeah, just some interesting notes that I had dug up on about qualifying and whatnot. But yeah, you had mentioned the announcement over the weekend that in 2021 the IndyCar series will be going to 900 horsepower with the 2.4 liter twin turbocharged V6 engines that they have.
Yes, they're increasing the cubic centimeters of the engine, but I think I was reading something which Marshall put on Racer about this, and of course Marshall, being from an engineering background, said that the current engines are putting out about 750-ish, I believe, and that almost half of the power increase could come simply from getting rid of the ethanol fuel and bringing back methanol.
Well, that's the easiest way to achieve power, is just put methanol in it, yes.
Yeah, because of the way methanol burns.
Nothing likes no engines like methanol, so nothing makes power easier.
But at the same time, you also have to be quite careful because it burns with a clear flame.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
As quite a lot of drivers of the 90s learnt.
But the new engine formula coming in 2021 will be a 2.4 liter twin turbo V6 that has 900 horsepower, and will have push to pass as well. And the engines will rev to a maximum of 12,000 RPM
to save costs, I believe, because if you increase the RPM even by 1,000 RPM, you're still looking at having to redesign half your top end almost.
Yes, this is true. They will also be in place for 6 years, meaning they will run through the 2026 season. And the new engines will run in the beginning of summer of 2020. So many, many good things to look forward to in the future for IndyCar after their new body kits and now new engines, which will produce monstrous amounts of power. Yeah, so we're getting back to the good old kart days of 1,100 horsepower and 1,000 horsepower.
You know what? They need to bring back the proper good old days of kart, though.
Different stick shifts and
Yep.
that'll slow them down. You don't need that. They already have no power steering. I think you can concede that they need paddle shifts.
Nah, give him a clutch pedal, a gear lever, and a button on the steering wheel to do flat up shifts.
You can't have everything. You gotta concede something.
God damn it. Also, actually, while we're at it, if you're going to bring back kart properly, make it a 2.65 litre V8.
Twin turbo V6 is where it's at because it's cheaper, and also that's where manufacturers want. I would like a V8 as well, but
they sounded good.
They did sound good. Plus, you might get a sneaky Mercedes engine, like.
Oh, with push rods.
Back in the day with push rods, yeah.
Yes. Oh, the story behind that engine is almost a legend in itself, with even the top brass at Mercedes Motorsport, like Norbert Haug, having to keep quiet about it.
Yeah, that's probably the best, actually, no, one of the best stories to come out of the 500 in any time, really. But yeah, that's that was something to behold. The engine, how they got away with that to this day, I still have no idea.
Because it was a loophole in the regulations, though, and they had some very, 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 very smart engineers.
Well, I mean, not the loophole. I mean, how they were able to keep that under wraps without anyone figuring it out is beyond me.
It was good, though.
Apparently, Stuff says my car in the league is green and number 13. Yes, your vegan-powered car would need some four-leaf clovers on it, I'd suspect, because that's typically not a very lucky number and/or color combination in racing, according to race drivers. But what do they know? They're a superstitious lot.
Yeah.
So who knows? Maybe your car will actually stand good stead if Danica does well on Sunday. But we shall see.
We shall see indeed.
Picking a favorite out of this list is going to be a bit hard because the Dale Coyne cars seem to be quite on pace. Both Zachary Clement de Mello and Sebastian Bourdais have good race cars. They're quick in qualifying. That means they should stand in good stead come race day. All three of the AJ Foyt cars, when you count the 33 of James Davison, who's actually starting 19th, so he's not that far back. He's in the middle of the grid, so he should have a good starting spot for going through the field. They might be a sneaky dark horse pick for the win, because all three of the Ed Carpenter cars, it's not exactly it's an underdog pick, I suppose, but they're starting on the front rows, so they're not exactly having that bit of a hardship, are they? So yeah. The Rahal cars should be interesting to see how they do, because they lacked outright qualifying speed, but they seem to be doing quite well in the toe speeds. So their cars might be on or in with a shot. And if there's anything we know about Graham Rahal, it's that he can pass if he has a good car underneath. So if the pack racing isn't as horrendous as it might seem by the drivers' words that they've said, the Rahal cars might be in with a shot at stealing a win as well. That counts Kumasato, Graham Rahal, and Oriol Servia. Of course, there's a mix of the Andretti cars, the fastest being Marco Andretti, and the Andretti Herta Autosport entry. Then there's Ryan Hunter-Reay in the 28. Carlos Munoz in the 29. Stefan Wilson in the 25. Zach Veach in the 26. And poor old Alexander Rossi stowed all the way at the bottom on the last row. He'll have a lovely party to attend for the last row guys of Jack Harvey himself and Connor Daly. But yeah, Alexander Rossi was looking like he could spoil the party and be the best of the rest, but had an abysmal qualifying run, and his car was just evil looking on his run. So that's why he was slowest of the guys that went out there that were quick. He's going to have a tough day ahead of him. So he's going to be one to watch, see how far up the field he can get. But if there's one thing we know about Alexander Rossi and his engineers, that they can make fuel numbers. So we will see what he can do come the end of Sunday.
Yes, in other news, I've just seen the slightly disturbing footage on Alan McNish's Twitter.
And that would be?
Yes, things not to say in haste. Yeah, if we get a 1-2, I'll do the race debrief on Tuesday in a lederhosen.
Right.
Yes, there is a photo of him on Twitter wearing a lederhosen next to all the trophies Audi Sport picked up from the Formula E.
Now, being a bit of a sneak here with the picks, who would your dark horse pick be, Rob? I'm putting you on the spot now, and you must choose someone.
God, I forget if I actually get the list of who's actually entering up. I might actually pick someone who's in the field. Dark horse. The Tony Kanaan.
Really? Okay, that's your pick to win.
Dark horse pick to win.
Your dark horse pick to win. Okay, Tony Kanaan. Now, who's your outright favorite? That's really obvious. That has a shot.
Pagenaud.
Really? Okay. That's interesting. See, my dark horse pick actually would have been Sebastian Bourdais. Because it seems like the Hondas are going to be a bit struggling for speed because the Chevys are just running away with the field, really. So I think it might be a bit of a struggle for the Hondas to keep up, really. Having said that, I think the most obvious favorite to win will be, I'm going to go with Helio Castroneves, if only because he needs to become a fourth-time Indianapolis 500 winner in what's looking to be his final Indianapolis 500 outing for the captain. And yeah, he's a sentimental favorite, really. Now, if I wanted to be completely bonkers, I'd say, Danica Patrick's going to win just because put the cat amongst the pigeons. But that's just going to be ridiculous if she does in her final fairy tale ending. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I really think that Sebastian Bourdais might be in with a shot here. Ooh, Pigeon picking RHR as his dark horse and going with Newgarden as his likely pick. Which,
I nearly picked Hunter-Reay as dark horse pick.
That's a good pick. True, yeah. I don't know. But half of my mind just says watch Alexander Rossi have a massive fuel saving and just be like, I started almost dead last, wins again. Watch, yeah. All the scenarios playing out, going, there's no way in hell he's gonna win or even run good. He'll be at the front at some point. I have a feeling, knowing how he can just make fuel. But yeah, that's our Indy 500 preview. So it'll be interesting to see who wins. I'd ask Penta for a pick, but
I'll probably be wrong.
I think we'll probably all be wrong. Watch Pigeon be right, because he seems to be right about everything.
Danica Patrick is my pick. Because fuck you all.
Well, you get 2 picks, so what's your second pick?
Hold up, let me look at the thing again.
Danica Patrick's your dark horse. Who's your favorite?
I don't have a favorite.
Someone.
Oh, being edgy now, are we?
He's only going with 1 because he's edgy, yeah.
Wiggins.
Well, well, I'd say he was a dark horse pick, really, because he wrecked in Monday's practice, so he's probably going to get a new car, and yeah, I don't know. The Schmidt cars just seem to be in trouble, really. They didn't seem like they were in trouble before, but the momentum seems not to be on their side after having Hinch drop out and Wickens crash, so I don't know. Jay Howard might be in with a shot. Who knows, really? We'll see.
And if Sage Karam wins, then God help us all.
You mean Cage Serum?
Cage Sarum, rather, yes. If Cage Sarum wins, then, well, all hope is lost.
If he wins, you're going to see him dumping milk all over himself shirtless, because that man hates to put a shirt on.
Is he some kind of, like, high school jock or something?
I don't know why Sage Karam doesn't like wearing shirts, but he has a thing about not wearing shirts. I don't understand it myself.
Because he's trying to hark back to his old state wrestling days.
I guess I have no idea. He just doesn't like
actually,
shirts. I don't know.
If him and Andy Lally had a fight after VIR IMSA last year,
I would have picked Andy Lally.
Same here.
He's got veganism on his side, yeah. Lean muscle.
That would make him weak, though.
Yeah, but then again, he is an MMA practitioner and actually...
That's why I said, yeah, he's an MMA fighter, so...
Yeah. And from general experience, you know... And generally, if someone's an MMA fighter, you don't want to... with them.
Hashtag vegan power. Yes, exactly, Pigeon. I was halfway expecting Stuff to be summoned by the mention of veganism, but I guess
yes,
not.
Stuff has just mentioned.
Oh, there we go. That's right. That's hilarious.
Yep.
Oh, well, you've mentioned
also,
Sorry, go on.
So I was going to say, apparently there's a Formula 1 race on this weekend in
I
Monaco,
was just
which
going to
means
bring
it's
it
only...
to calendars, yes. So,
which means you might as well watch Saturday's qualifying session, because that's going to be worth watching, because the race probably isn't.
Well,
just
Monaco's always worth watching because it's Monaco.
Yeah, true.
Plus, for those of us in the States, it's kind of the way to wake up for, Indy, because Monaco's on first, and then you get like a nice breakfast, and then you can watch Indy. And then if you're so inclined, you can watch a Coca-Cola 600 later on.
Yeah, if you want to actually watch something which you don't want to have any recollection of afterwards anyway, after a couple 40s, then...
well, actually, in fairness, the Coca-Cola 600 is just long enough that you can get in a nice nap and watch the final stage race. Or the final stage, because, that's all they want to watch anyway. So
yeah.
There you go. Stage racing indeed is quite boring. But, for this one instance, it might work. Because you're not going to watch the entire 600 miles unless you're interesting. Yeah, I can't bother by the Coca-Cola 600. It takes about 6 hours to finish.
It takes about the same length as an average European Le Mans Series race.
It will. That's also if it doesn't rain.
Yeah.
Which typically the past couple of years rain has come in and then it ends up being like a 10-hour race. Yeah, I don't... Oof. Actually, it's not 10 hours. It's exaggeration, but
10 days.
Yeah, see, Pigeon understands. It's a pre-race show for the Indy 500.
Yeah. Pigeon knows what's up.
Exactly. But those are the triple headers of the, or the triple crown, rather, for the weekend, the Monaco Grand Prix, the 102nd Indianapolis 500, presented by Pengrade Motor Oil, and the Coca-Cola 600. Those are the big races, and I think those are the only ones happening, unless someone else knows some obscure things that are happening on the ether. Yeah.
We would need Josh for that, like some weird Formula 5 race or whatever.
Formula
4.
5000, yeah, something.
Formula 4 Mexico or something. I don't know.
Formula 4. Is that? I wonder if that's even a thing, actually. For Mexico.
Oh no, there is something else happening this weekend.
Really?
Yes! It's the British round of the World Superbike Championship, so expect Johnny Ray to probably win.
Ah, so it's not worth watching then. Well done.
It's Donington Park, if anyone's so inclined.
No, just watch the Indianapolis 500 instead.
Yes.
Yes.
So you need to watch this weekend.
Everyone, just watch Indy. I'm telling you, it'll be amazing.
Oh, God.
Of course, British GT are at Centerton. Of course.
Yes.
Well, no one watched British GT. Watch Indy instead.
Yes, and it turns out there is actually a Formula 4 Mexico series.
Of course there is.
And Calendario...
Actually, in fairness, when is a British GT? Is it on Monday or is it on Sunday?
Why would it be on Monday?
I don't know. Maybe they have a bank holiday.
12 hours Imola.
Ooh,
What is the 12 hours of Imola?
Creventic, probably.
Oh, if it's
Creventic.
Creventic, it's not worth watching.
50 car field, so
Yeah.
it's worth watching, I'd say.
What is it comprised of? Is it the GTs or is it the prototypes and GTs and...
It's GTs and touring cars.
Well, might be.
So, yeah, it's going to be a good one, I think.
Yeah, Imola is worth
Yeah.
watching.
Well, on that note, I will be signing off now.
I'll be getting another drink now.
Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
I'm gonna live my life now. Bye.